we believe that we're going to get what's called the record of decision, which is that's the end of federal permitting, and we believe that will come to us in about mid-September. So then Biden almost becomes irrelevant because we need no more federal permits. After that, we only need construction permits, and those are all issued by the state of Alaska. The governor of the state of Alaska is very much on side with resource development, Pebble in particular. When you look at history in Alaska is not that old a state. It only became a state in 1949. And these Clean Water Act and NEPA, these emerged in the mid-1970s from a federal standpoint. Back 30, 35 years in Alaska, there's never been a case where a record of decision has been issued based on a final EIS where the construction permits from the state of Alaska haven't been forthcoming. So, I mean, and I'm happy to provide you with a lot more background on all of this, but in effect, a lot of it is history because we are so close to the end of it. And then, I mean, we are in what I like to call the silly season, which is the final stages of a presidential election, and everything, people have something to say about comments, but it's the kind of season that once it's over, everybody forgets what everybody promised to do. You aren't held to your promises. There's no certainty with who will win this election. I mean, last time around, nobody expected Trump to win. I mean, even ourselves, we were preparing for a Hillary Clinton victory, and we were shocked at the outcome on the night of the election. In fact, the fellow that runs Pebble, Tom Collier, the CEO of what we call Pebble Limited Partnership, the company that owns the asset, he's a lawyer that specializes in permitting, but he also ran the Department of Interior during the Bill Clinton administration.
Oh, with the Democrats then?
Yes. And he's a lifelong Democrat. He knows the Clintons personally very well. Like I said, we were planning that it would be a Clinton victory, and then it was a Trump victory. And we said, if Trump wins, it probably is a little bit better. Republican administrations tend to be easier on natural resource permitting than Democratic. But even, under Democratic, if you do the right thing, Democratic administrations, you've accomplished it. So, again, who will win this victory, this presidential election? I still think it's very much up in the air. If we don't have the rod issued before the election, then because Biden, if he gets elected, he becomes the commander-in-chief, so he becomes the head of the army. So yes, he can delay it, but he can't turn around and say, no, you can't issue the permit to them. The rod is negative. A rod decision has to be made, and that decision, has to be negative or positive, and it has to be based on the FEIS. Now, the FEIS says this thing doesn't cause material damage here, doesn't cause material damage here, is great socioeconomic opportunity here, plus they mitigated any of the wetlands impact. So it can't be negative. His official statutory record is positive. How long could he delay it? And if he delays it, too much, it becomes, in effect, a taking, an expropriation. And then there's statute dealing with expropriation. I mean, in the Obama years, when Obama tried to make a decision on Pebble without an appropriate record, which was a preemptive veto, I mean, and the court stopped them. We were easily successful in the courts shutting that down. But during that period, the state of Alaska said, what you're trying to do is without statutory authority. And in our view, it's a taking, an expropriation. And if it's determined to be a taking by the courts, we expect compensation. The state of Alaska said we want $1 trillion for Pebble because the state owns the mineral rights. Because that letter went to the White House, an official letter, then the Department of Justice had to get involved. And the Department of Justice then looked at it, and while the Department of Justice didn't want to find the White House guilty, they They said if it turns out that you do not have the statutory authority and this is a taking, the cost to the U.S. federal treasury will be $700 to $800 billion at least.
So, it's a big state. There's a small population, and especially when it comes to, the political being in Alaska. So people tend to know each other, and we have quite a few contacts into the Rakowski operation and quite a few contacts into the Sullivan operation. And as Tom said, they both were caught off guard by the press report and the news. And they published a statement that turned out to be quite inaccurate. And now they'd rather not have to admit better that they're just quiet. We're okay with that.
We're going to have so we've had meetings, face-to-face meetings with the Army Corps of Engineers with the mitigation report, and they have basically agreed to everything. And what we have to do is have the hydrological engineering company called HDR certify everything. And once certified, then it's submitted, and once receipted, we're done with the mitigation plan. So we think that will happen before month end. In fact, we were shooting for 10 days, 2 weeks from Monday of this week. So could be another, I'm going to say 10 days, and we think we'll have that in. I could send you an email or a WhatsApp update on the timing of that. Probably later today, I'll phone Tom and ask Tom how HDR is going. But the people from HDR were in all the meetings, and they're one of America's leading hydrology companies. The guy that runs HDR in Alaska is an ex-Army Corps of Engineers colonel, and he used to run the Army Corps of Engineers in Alaska in the 1990s. Well, the interesting part is that we were running a commercial on Fox News about no politics in permitting on the Pebble mine, and a person on the commercial was saying exactly that. Donald tweeted a quote out of the commercial that was a Pebble commercial: "No politics on Pebble permitting." So he actually did use our exact words. I didn't write the tweet for him, but he copied our tweet.
And do you think it's going to help?
Well, I think it's made it very clear that he intends there will be no political interference in any of this stuff. I think yes, because I think the news, the chatter about Pebble will die down because everybody's going to want to talk about Ruth Ginsburg. See, during elections, people want to create issues to talk about, especially the press. Well, this, as Supreme Court Justice in the United States, you probably can't get much more important than a Supreme Court Justice. They're probably more important than a Vice President. And so, A, that means that there's less chatter about Pebble. We go about our business quietly then. And B, we think that the fact that this issue has arisen now makes it probably even better for Trump's reelection.
Why?
Just because it'll draw more conservatives who come out to vote. It'll be like a plebiscite, a proxy on Trump and the Supreme Court. See, the Republicans always want very conservative justice, and it's a really, like I said, a Supreme Court justice is probably more important than the Vice President of the United States. Supreme Court justices make these monumental decisions, whereas the Vice President really is just a figurehead until the President dies, and then he happens to come in. But Supreme Court justices are very key to all kinds of issues. So So it'll really pull, I think, a lot of Republicans who might not like Donald Trump and would not vote, but they're going to want a Supreme Court justice in, so they're going to come